to the Eclectic Entertainment Experience, hosted by James Vassar. Welcome to the Eclectic Entertainment Experience, and that is your Triple E podcast for short. Thank you. Thank you. So, I'm your host, James Vassar, and I'm excited for you to join me on this week's quest. Thank you for being here, my wonderful adventurers and explorers. It's Tuesday, November 21st. Yep, that's right. And you know what that means? We're starting to head into Turkey Day. I'm so tired. Turkey Day. Sorry, I got distracted by my lights. Yes, so Turkey Day. For those of you who don't know what Turkey Day means, that's Thanksgiving. But I'm pretty excited. I'm kind of a fan of other Thanksgiving meals, though not turkey. I think turkey's overrated. Sorry, people. Like candy yams or sweet corn or apple pie. Pretty much all of the sweet foods. Yes, thank you, wonderful crowd. I appreciate you so much. So anyways, what do you guys think and hear what do you think when you hear the word Thanksgiving? Said, what do you hear when you think of the word Thanksgiving, right? What do you like think of once you hear it? Like someone says Thanksgiving, dun dun dun, and you're like, huh, yeah. So you probably definitely think of food, just like me. I know that. Well, at least I think some of you are. Um, you probably are thinking football or family. So the three F's, as they would say. So kind of like the three E's. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm kind of thinking of the fourth F. What do you guys think? Anyone? Anyone? What do you think? That's right. You guessed it. I know you did.
Forever.
Yeah, that's forever. Forever. You're probably like, what the heck? Well, and we have to also remember the fifth F.
A third F5 to the Undertaker.
Oof. Oof. F5. That's rough. All right. So let's get on with it. Yeah, I know. You probably are like, what the heck? If you don't know what that was, you're confused. If you know what those were, you're thinking, well, why does the WWE and Thanksgiving, why are they together? How do they go together? I understand that you're very confused. So let me explain to you. And I want you to understand something that is going on this Saturday.
In War Games.
Oh my gosh, it's War Games. All right, so again, people are like, I don't even know what WWE is, and you're probably like, it's fake, it's a setup, it's a soap opera, which is yeah, you're correct. I get it, and that's okay. It's okay if that's what it is, right? Let's just be real about it. It's okay, but I will add to this wonderful, awesome thing, even though fake sounds bad and setup also kind of sounds bad. And a lot of people make fun of soap operas. So, again, also sounds bad. But there's actually a lot more great storytelling. Soap operas are very dramatic, but also have some very twists and turns that are kind of obnoxious, like, "Oh, I slept with my mom's cousin's sister who died 3 years ago and now is back, and then I'm pregnant with, my mom's dad's friend's brother's uncle, nephew's cousin twice removed." Oh. Yeah, so that's semi exaggerated, but it's definitely true. Because that's what soap operas are. So there's better storytelling than that. It may seem a little dramatic. I would say over dramatic, right? Because that's what soap operas are, over dramatic. Um, but at the same time, there's also like sometimes that drama over drama helps with some of the story time. Sometimes it doesn't. Well, like I'm not gonna, stand up for WWE and everyone on that. But with that, you have these athletes that are extremely impressive, right? And almost, I would argue, sometimes more impressive than other sports athletes. Not all. And, let's not argue over who killed who. But the key is that this storytelling throws in athletes and also actors. And some of them, we'll be honest, they're not so good at the acting part, but they have to really embody kind of being able to speak on the mic and sell a story. And as if they do, they buy into the crowd, right? If the crowd buys into it and the fans of WWE buy into it, then the rest is history. And that's what makes WWE so entertaining. And like we could talk about this for I, I don't know, 35 minutes at least. I don't know why I threw 35 minutes out there, why that number was so specific, but that's what it is. WWE is the last E, just like my one of my E's is entertainment. And that's what the wrestling this wrestling is. It's not there is some components of, you know, collegiate or high school uh professional wrestling. I mean, there's not really much professional wrestling like, you know, this type of sport where there's actually competitive nature and it's not a setup, right? Like the WWE plans obviously who wins the matches and stuff beforehand, and yeah, that's part of the storytelling. It's almost like watching a movie or a show where wrestling on like the Olympics or the collegiate level that isn't it's not planned, right? There's no script. Well, maybe who knows? Maybe there is. There's a script for the NFL. I mean, I don't know. I- Maybe this is part of it. Anyways, we're not going to get into that. But what I want to talk about is kind of bring the love of wrestling to you, and hopefully you go, "Oh, okay, I see you. I'm not going to watch it, but I see you." Or maybe I'm gonna be semi-interested and kinda get into it. I think right now is a great time to get in it. You might become spoiled though, because the person who is the head of creativity is an older wrestler, called Triple H. Now, he's done a really great job of some of these stories. Sometimes it's kind of like, "What are you doing?" But I think that's part of wrestling. The thing with wrestling is there's times where these people, their characters are pushed to tell a story, and excuse me, the story. Sometimes they can't sell the story. Sometimes they're not good actors, so when they talk on a mic and try to embody the audience, it's not great. And if they're not super athletic and their matches aren't entertaining, what's gonna happen is they're gonna get lost and they have to kind of fall in the background and then either be built. Sometimes they rebrand their characters, which can be good. Sometimes it's not. Someone who got rebranded, who's actually been awesome, is LA Knight. He was LA Knight, and then he came to he was LA Knight on NXT, and then he came to the SmackDown, and they brought him on as a manager, Max Dupri, which was semi entertaining for like 5 seconds, but that's not who that character is, and people didn't really care for it. And then he came back and rebranded as his old character, LA Knight, and now he's one of the more popular wrestlers. So sometimes it's just about character building, sometimes it's the person building that specific character. Some people can't. Some people have to stay their character forever. And then there's also the opposite. So if you get into wrestling, you have what they call babyface or heel. And what that means is babyface is exactly what it sounds like, right? So babyface is when you hear babyface, you think someone who's clean shaven, young, kind of sometimes attractive. I mean, babyface, you think of a babe, a baby, a wee lad, a wee babe. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Distractions. They're great, aren't they? So the definition of babyface in wrestling and WWE is more of like that good guy character. And that's kind of the thing is because when you think of someone clean shaven, usually they're a good guy. They've got the build, the body. Oh, the baby face, he's good. Da, 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 da. I know it's maybe like, I don't get it. That's fine. Just baby face. You hear baby face, good guy. So good guy, baby face, wrestling. Cool. Then you have the heel. And the heel you think of probably the back of your foot, right? Well, if you think of that, the heel is always kind of there, but when you think of like grabbing the heel, it's like pulling you back. Well, that's the bad guy. And some of the wrestlers cannot be a babyface and some of them cannot be a heel, or they're really good at one or the other, right? So some wrestlers such as Brock Lesnar, who you heard F5, which that was actually a terrible impression. His finishing move as the F5, and he's more like a heel. Now, he was terrible over the mic. Side story, side note, he was terrible over the mic, and they had to actually bring in this guy, Paul Heyman, and be his kind of mic guy. Which, whatever, that's a whole nother story. So, with that, you have these characters that are built around heel and babyface. And it's a classic good guy versus bad guy story. And everyone enjoys that as much as they don't, right? There is everything out there from an entertainment standpoint, from movies and TV shows. There's a good guy and there's a bad guy in most cases, right? There's random stories that there's not necessarily a good guy or the bad guy is the main character and you kind of like that, I guess. And I would I'm specifically thinking of like Social Network. I mean, I know that's based on a true story, but he's a quote unquote bad guy. I mean, he's not a great person in the movie. And but he's kind of the main character, and you kind of have this weird like I'm kind of rooting for him, I'm kind of not. So, but most stories like classic, you know, what came out recently. My brain is farting. Uh, oh, like the new Star Wars show, Ahsoka. The Ahsoka is a good guy, and then your bad guys is all the Sith and all that. And they brought back what's his face, Admiral. I can't think. My brain is just clearly fried. Or the classic, Superman versus Lex Luthor, or Batman versus Joker. Those kind of things. Or sometimes there's like, yeah, my brain's done. I quit. Anyways, so that's kind of how wrestling's built. Now there are times where heels face off versus heels, the bad guys are versus bad guys, or good guys versus good guys. And a lot of times wrestling struggles with that. And people are like, who do I root for? That guy's a good guy. That guy's a good guy, you know. And then like heels is easier because you're just kind of like, well, that guy's a jerk and I don't like him. So I'm gonna root for this guy, even though he's kind of a jerk too. And usually what ends up happening is one of them, if that's 2 baby faces, one of them eventually becomes a heel, and maybe there's like a quote unquote, they call it a turn, when they go from babyface good guy to bad guy, aka heel. And then you have the heel versus heel, and then usually what happens is one of them turns from a heel to a babyface. So yeah, I'm getting like, you're probably like, oh my gosh, this is so confusing. Just basically, WWE has a good guy versus bad guy mentality. Sometimes the bad guy wins a lot. Actually, sometimes it's like consistent and you're kind of annoyed. Sometimes you kind of get behind this bad guy because he's just the way he carries himself, his wrestling abilities, how he talks on the mic, some of maybe the people around him if he's in a group, whatever. Da, 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 da. So that's why wrestling is so entertaining, is because there's a story, and sometimes the story is built over months. One of the most popular stories that just recently happened is the wrestler was Sami Zayn, and he became part of the Bloodline, and he had this whole 8-month storyline, and it was beautiful. Like it started from, so WWE also has this thing called WrestleMania, which a lot of people have heard of. It's either Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, which are the big pay-per-view matchups. But WrestleMania is every year in April, and that one's like the infamous one. And there's a lot of changes that happen. There's a lot of buildup that happens. Well, WrestleMania 2 years ago, there was Sami Zayn had a match. Terrible, like, actually, the match wasn't terrible, it was just hilarious, because he faced the Jackass Crew, which people do know who that is, Johnny Knoxville and all that, and it was kind of a hilarious match, and but he was humiliated because he ended up losing. Well, so he had to build this new character, and it was kinda interesting because he started off kind of like as this Weasley character trying to find his new way, trying to make sure that he's like, "I'm better than this," but he built that for a whole year, and then he he then went from this whole buildup, and 8 months later, it was like, or excuse me, a year later in the next WrestleMania, he's tag team with his buddy, who was kind of his enemy for a little bit, KO, Kevin Owens, and he's wrestling Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso for the tag team titles, and it like, you're like, "Wait, what?" If I would have told you that, like, in a year, that like, that's how amazing the character development and the story, and you, like, your heart's pulled into it, and that's why wrestling is so much fun. And then the match themselves are, they're fun to watch. Like there's just a lot of cool athletic ability. Yes, there's fakeness. Yes, it's stupid. Like, hey, he just like hit him for the first time and he tried to go for the pin to win the thing in 2 minutes. And he's not gonna really win in this big match. You're right. It's dumb. But or it makes no sense. Maybe it's not dumb. It's confusing. Or in a in a match where there's a belt in the championship match, technically, if there's a disqualification, the champion retains his belt. So like, why doesn't the champion just get himself disqualified so he can keep his belt? Yes, there's loopholes that make no sense, but that's not the point. The point is it's fun, it's entertaining, and it's enjoyable. And the story is always kind of building. And again, sometimes there's these people that come out on the scene and the story sucks, or they're just like, you're kind of like, what's going on? That happens. It's just like TV, right? Sometimes certain characters on a TV show, you're just kind of like, what are they doing? Why is this person in there? And then either the character gets better and they develop them correctly, or the character just kind of sinks into the background, or neither, and you're just annoyed. Kind of just case in point, right? So that's why wrestling is so amazing. Is it's more than just fake setups. Because even if it's fake, even if it's set up, you don't know usually. You don't know who's going to win. And that's kind of the fun of it, is there's always a surprise. And that's enjoyable. And there's kind of crazy things where it's like, "Wait, what? That wasn't supposed to happen." Or one of my favorite things in wrestling, right, is wrestlers get injured. It happens. Or they disappear for a little while because they take a hiatus just because they need a long break. They get like, because wrestling schedule is actually pretty crazy, because you have Monday Night or you have Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and then they also have their live events on Saturday, which mean nothing, but they're just kinda there. Like Monday and Friday, and then the pay-per-views are the story, right? And then they have days where they're in cities where they perform matches for the fans. They do some fun stuff. They do the Saturday main event and live event, which you can watch usually sometimes, but then you go to so they're always traveling. So the schedule itself for wrestling is not easy, I would say. I mean, I don't know how much they're paid. I have no clue. But they are busy regardless of how much they pay. And there is no quote unquote off season. So they'll get like hiatuses from time to time. Then they also there's women wrestlers and well, they get pregnant. So sometimes they go on a hiatus because they're pregnant and they're gone for a little while. Or they get injured. Like that's typical. Well, so when a wrestler returns, especially one that's really loved, which most of the time when a wrestler returns, whether they're loved or not, there's some sort of fan base around this person, so people get excited. But if the wrestler is super popular, people even get more excited. And well, War Games, which is Survivor Series. So let's talk about this. So wrestlers returning, and that's why I wanted to transition into this Saturday. And this is what the like wrestling itself is this episode, but Survivor Series and Thanksgiving is what goes together because this Saturday is Survivor Series, which is a pay-per-view. And half the time this one means nothing. And what I mean by that, again, the big pay-per-views are WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. A lot of things are decided, championship belts are made, stories are changed and altered and or concluded sometimes even. Well, Survivor Series War Games is going to be epic because there is some cool matches and ooh, Randy Orton, the Apex Predator, is returning. And again, if you don't know, look him up. He's really cool. He has a cool move called RKO, which is Randy knocks out. Fantastic, fun move to watch. Looks kind of dumb if you think about it, but it's really fun. And he's really cool. He's a great wrestler, been around for quite some time. He's returning from injury after being injured at least, yeah, almost over a year now. And there was talks where if he may not come back. And well, he's coming back. Ah! Sorry, I'm so excited. And he got announced yesterday, so it's really exciting. So what's gonna happen in War Games? So War Games, let me talk about that. Survivor Series is just the title of the pay-per-view. And some of the titles there is like stipulations involved with the title. So like Royal Rumble has the Royal Rumble match. Um, WrestleMania is just a crap ton of matches because it's Mania. There's Hell in a Cell, which is literally there's this hell like it's a steel cage and you can't leave it. Or it's a cell, steel cage. Hell, can't leave Hell in a Cell. There's elimination chamber where they're in chambers, and if you get eliminated, get knocked out, and then like the last two standing, it becomes like a one-on-one match, and then whoever wins that match. I feel like there's other ones. Backlash. That one's literally after WrestleMania because it's like WrestleMania Backlash. Now we gotta this happened at WrestleMania, so now there's some backlash. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean there's like stories involved, but anyways, I'm getting distracted because I'm just excited. So, War Games, quick story synopsis of War Games is basically two rings together. There's a big old freaking cage around it, and you can climb up the cage and get out if you want, or climb up and jump on people because that happens. And there is 5v5 in cage outside. They're in both in like this little container, and one person starts, and then from one team, so it's 5 for 5, like 2 teams, and then one person starts, and then another person comes, and then another person comes out from the other team, so now it's like 2 on 1 for like 3 minutes. I think it's like 3 minutes, and then the next person comes out, and, like, they keep coming out until it's 5 on 5. What's wild about that is you can't win the match until all of them come out. So, like, the first 20 ish minutes. It's just them wrestling for funsies. Like, I'm gonna beat you up, which is just funny because it's like, what are you doing? So that's why it's called War Games because it's a war and it's kind of a game. But anyways, and then it becomes whoever gets pinned or submitted first wins. And that's really fun. It's pretty intense. Again, story. Well, Randy Orton's returning on Saturday in the War Games match, and he's going to have some fun, and that's going to be epic because you have this wrestler returning, and they have this thing called a pop, which usually what that means is it's kind of the reaction of the crowd when something happens, and usually that's usually happens when their theme music, because every wrestler has a theme music they come out on. They enter their entrance music, and Randy Orton's when his music goes off, people are gonna lose their absolute mind, and that's usually what a pop is. It's gonna be a very big pop. This is gonna be like all of a sudden it's like it's quiet, nothing's happening, and then the music comes on. I hear voices in my head, they talk to me, and then all of a sudden the crowd's gonna be like, as soon as that pops, they're gonna be like, Randy Orton's back. That's literally what's gonna happen. Anyway, so like that's gonna come in hot. That's gonna be an epic match, and then you have like some other championship matches, which will be interesting, and then you have, like, a weird, odd retribution match, which that's Carlito, old wrestler, versus Santo Escobar. I don't really care about that, but bleh. And then you have women war games, which is gonna be fun. Damage Control versus some cool wrestlers, some more big names with Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Shotzi. So it'll be fun. That one will be fun to watch. And then the championship match I was talking about is the Intercontinental Championship with Gunther versus The Miz. Oh, that would be super cool because there's some talks about Miz potentially upsetting Gunther, which watch Gunther and Imperium's entrance. Like I would spend like days watching that. And then the women's championship match, Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark. It's going to be interesting. Rhea Ripley, aka Mommy, is a really good women's wrestler. She's crazy. She's a heel, but super fun. And then the War Games men's match, which is the one I'm super pumped up, is you have Judgment Day with Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre is now heel, so he was babyface and he switched to heel, which is really cool. So that's going to be a fun kind of build up of a character because it just happened. And then you have Cody Rhodes, super awesome. Watch him. American Nightmare, very famous or very popular. Famous is probably right to word too. With Jey Uso, very Sami Zayn, Seth freaking Rollins, and then Randy Orton comes back. The team is stacked. Like this card is going to be epic. Like I'm so pumped. So when you think about Thanksgiving and you're watching the football and you're eating your food and you're hanging out with your family, you're also going to be thinking about wrestling on Saturday. You'll be like, oh my gosh, that's Saturday. That's 2 days. So that's why wrestling is so awesome. That's why it reminds me of Thanksgiving. And normally, like, probably are like, what the heck? Who cares? It will matter. If you want to get into wrestling this week. Watch some cool returns because that's fun. This is super enjoyable. Start to build a storyline because after this, it's build to Royal Rumble, which then builds to WrestleMania. So this is a great time to watch because a lot of cool stories happen right now, and it did last year. So yeah, I could talk about wrestling for another 3 hours, but I'm not going to. But I'm just gonna end the show. I know that's kind of sudden. I gotta stop before I get crazy. But I hope you enjoyed. I really do. And I hope that kind of like opened your eyes to wrestling and WWE. And I hope you check it out. If not, I just hope it was enlightening and you're pumped up as much as I am because it's Thanksgiving week. I get food and I get wrestling. Thank you for listening to today's adventure on the Eclectic Entertainment Experience. Please like, subscribe, and share with your fellow explorers. And until next time, keep being